Canada, back in the maple leaf country right above us. So this time we were in Vancouver, and honestly, like I was thinking about this going into this week or going into fight night, I should say. When they posted the full card, I feel like Canada they usually like they kind of shaft them a little bit with some of these fight cards, especially the pay per views. Like, because they've had a lot of pay per views in Canada over the past few years, and they're always like on the weaker side. So for them to have a big fight night here, I thought that that was pretty nice because they deserve it. There's a lot of Canadian fans of the UFC, always has been, even back to like the GSP. I think Carlos Newton was Canadian too, but yeah, way back. But we got fights to talk about, obviously, and to hop right into this main event because there's a ton that we could talk about here. Brendan Allen literally breaks Renier de Ridder, wins via TKO after RDR's team stops it after the fourth round, threw in the towel for their fighter. In terms of the fight itself, RDR pretty much dominated round one, but didn't do a lot of damage from the positions that he was in. And that's kind of like where I want to start with this because I thought that that was like the biggest thing that really changed the trajectory of the fight. Because RDR, he gets Allen down, and he gets him in full mount and a back mount later in the round. And Brendan Allen did such a great job at fighting the hands. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, throw, ground and pound. Like, that was all he had to do. And that he could have finished the fight at certain points if he would just go for it a little more. Because like when you're playing too much jiu-jitsu like that in MMA and you're not doing any damage, great, you just won the round. But then look at how the rest of the fight went with Brendan Allen dominating him. And like, he could have gotten him out of there if he would have just actually like went for it a little more instead of just kind of playing jiu-jitsu with him. And obviously in rounds 2, 3, and 4, it really backfired for him because there were points where he was in an advantageous position and then Allen was able to just reverse him. So yeah, I thought that this was a bizarre one for de Ridder. But at the end of the day, Brendan Allen, I mean, still an excellent performance, and he hung with him on the ground, and he did damage when he was on top, which I think was the big difference in this fight. And I think that that kind of tired de Ridder out because, you know, it takes a lot of energy to keep scrambling so you're not getting hit instead of just getting laid on top of, kind of like Allen was in the first round. But, you know, great win by Allen, just rough-looking loss for de Ridder. But before we kind of get into the end of it, fight itself, just kind of like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, well, I think even in the first round, why it was a 10-9, even though one might look at go and watch it and be like, wow, Rene de Ridder really just manhandled Brendan Allen that round. It's because Brendan Allen did a really good job of defending, and I think I agree with you when you say like, even though I think Rene de Ridder's more than skilled enough to go for that submission finish. And he was going for the rear naked choke. Like I said, I think it's more of a credit to Brendan Allen holding his own on the ground and actually using Rene de Ridder's jiu-jitsu against him. And so it wasn't until, the end of the round that Rene de Ridder's like, oh, well, looks like you got to punch him a little bit and try to just bloody him up that way. And if anything, it was just the opposite. And Brendan Allen bloodied up Rene de Ridder, and just, you got like judo throws in there from Brendan Allen, and I think it's just, I think it was someone that we knew that is a pretty strong guy for the middleweight division. It's just, what path of victory is going to be the most likely for him. And if it did go the distance with a guy like Rene de Ridder, who seemingly has a cardio and gas tank to roll and grapple for as long as he wants, the way to beat him is how Brendan Allen just beat him. And you just gotta take everything out from him, so much so that his own corner just throws in the white flag. And yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think that's worth getting into pretty much right after this. Like, the question is that everybody's asking is, did RDR quit? Literally, yes. But like the thing is, uh, we were talking a little bit about this just before we started recording, but like in MMA, it's still very taboo for a coach to step in and stop a fight when their fighter is taking a lot of damage. I mean, think about when like Tony Ferguson fought Justin Gaethje or Brian Ortega versus Max Holloway. Like sometimes someone should step in and protect their fighter. Even Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway, I didn't even think of that one. But to go back to it, like I said, I think that it's more taboo in MMA to stop a fight if you're a coach because they don't want to rob the fighter of the opportunity. But at the same time, I think that there's times that it's warranted, like a Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, like I just said. But in this fight, you know, after the third round and after the fourth round, DeRitter was barely getting up from the canvas out of just pure exhaustion, and he took a ton of damage. And, obviously he's never going to say, I can't continue. But the coach could see the body language of his fighter and stepped in and prevented him from taking 5 more minutes of completely unnecessary damage. And now you see things like this in boxing all the time, but in MMA you don't. And it still gets like a really bad rap. Even after this, like people are really slamming DeRitter and his coach. But I just don't agree with that. I think that the coach is saving his guy, live to fight another day. Sometimes you just beat, and I don't mean beat cardio wise, I just mean beat in the fight. There was nothing that RDR was going to do in that fifth round that was going to change the outcome. He had nothing left. So I just think that the coach deserves a lot more credit than he's getting. And I just wish we'd see more of this in MMA because I think it would help a lot of fighters, like career longevity, personally. But that's just my take. A lot of people would disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But that's just my take.
Well, I think Rene Ritter should use striking to set up his jiu-jitsu more instead of from the jump. In the beginning of this fight, like they were immediately up against the fence, and from there it was Brendan Allen gave his back, and so that's why Renato decided he did everything he could to go for the finish with a submission, but
and he has good striking too, which makes it's not the greatest.
He realized this is MMA and you can punch too, so.
Well, even on the think of the fight with Whitaker. RDR did such a good job at kind of drawing him into knees and uppercuts, and Brendan Allen, that's a wrestler. He's gonna shoot if you don't shoot. So, I think that maybe he could have done more damage on the feet than maybe he anticipated going in, because like you said, he seemed like he immediately wanted to get it on the ground. And obviously in the first round, it looked like a great idea. But then as the fight went on, obviously, the tables completely turned. I don't know. It was my opinion still ultimately just goes back to this is MMA and not jiu-jitsu. You gotta do damage.
I feel like wrestlers don't get really the representation as much in UFC, maybe MMA as a whole landscape, but definitely UFC just because of how advanced jiu-jitsu grappler like Rene Ritter, advanced jiu-jitsu grapplers are, and how many ways they can pass, and just instead of Brendan Allen using the jiu-jitsu against Rene Ritter, jiu-jitsu specialists can just neutralize or negate a guy's strength by just keeping them on their toes, and just keeping them guessing of where they're going to try to pass and lock in a submission from. So here, I think Brendan Allen put on a pretty great representation of how wrestlers are, that strength is still something that you can't really teach, and when you're able to just really pick up another 185er and just toss him, and then just take him out, just what is even the word I'm looking for, pick him apart, whether it's on the ground or on the feet like Brendan Allen did here. Then that's how you get a TKO victory most of the time. So
I love watching just like those wrestling versus jiu-jitsu type of fights because they're always it's a battle that will never end in mixed martial arts, that's for sure, and there's always a lot of pride there. But then, we're talking a lot about RDR and his game plan, but obviously Brendan Allen deserves a lot of credit too. Gambling like this, taking a short notice fight against a top contender with a lot of momentum in De Ridder. And it paid off massively because now he's probably going to be in the top 5. He has a ton of options. Called out Hamzat. Hate to say it, but that's probably not going to happen. I think that Imavov has probably won the sweepstakes to get the next fight with Hamzat at 185, but there's a lot of different options for Brendan Allen. I mean, there's the Sean Strickland rematch. Dricus du Plessis is still out there, and I think that could be an interesting fight because when you look at how DDP did against Hamzat, you have to wonder if that's just his ground game or if that was just Hamzat and how good he is. And I think that Brendan Allen would be an interesting test for that. But yeah, what a fantastic thing for him to do, to take this fight and then break him in the way that he did. And if you think about it too, he said in the beginning of the week that this is exactly what he was going to do. He's going to break him in there. He knows he can break him. And I'm not. I thought that this was going to be a good fight, but I'm definitely shocked to see that Brendan Allen won it in the way that he did, and that really impressed me to completely just stop RDR's momentum like that. So that was pretty phenomenal. But besides that, for the main event, this is another thing we were talking about before the show, and I think it's just worth bringing up because it was a bizarre moment on the card so I'll put it like this. Like when I was watching the walkouts for this main event and Brendan Allen was walking out, you see that phone go across the screen real quick and go back. And I was like, that was weird because it was like a weird picture and it looked like it was somebody like against a wall or something. And it was an odd photo. Like, I say that like you see this all the time. Like you'll see someone hold up a little thing on their phone, like their notes page that says like Shama or something like that, but never something like this. And in my head when I was watching the fights live, I was like, oh, that was weird. Like I wonder if anyone else kind of noticed that. And then after the main event, when I went on like Instagram, I started to see some posts about it. It's like fans theorizing that kidnapping victim was shown on like Brendan Allen's walkout, and then like you see the freeze frames of the picture. And now, like, me personally, I thought that it was too quick to really, like, and too blurry to kind of notice exactly what it looked like. But obviously, a lot of people on, social media thought that it looked like a woman being held, like, against her will, which is, I mean, hey, man, very bizarre to just see during a UFC event like that. And it was creepy, too, because the guy who put his phone out like that, he was wearing Rey Mysterio mask, so you couldn't even see his face. And then you hear rumors that like there's like police investigations like going on about it, but it's like I don't know about all that just because I mean you can't believe everything you read on social media. But definitely a odd moment to start that fight that I just wanted to address because it is a little crazy.
But I don't know what the guy who did it wants us as viewers to make of it.
Right? Like
it's
just bizarre.
Yeah, we're just kind of left in the dark here and just creeped out about it.
Yeah, because it was a weird moment. Even if it wasn't what people think it is, it's still just weird. Yeah. Some people think it could have been a movie promotion. I'm like, I could see that. That could be something. Remember a few years ago for the baseball games, and you'd see all the people from Smile in the crowd with that creepy ass grin. It could be something like that, but I don't know. That was a weird thing right there. But hey, man, I guess maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't.
Maybe we'll find out.
But that was going a little crazy in the MMA sphere. But let's move on to the co-main event. What's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy her Hamburg's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you, appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe, and now back to the show. talk a little bit about Mike Malott versus Kevin Holland, and man, this fight was unfortunate. Mike Malott gets the win via unanimous decision. All three judges scored at 29-28, which makes sense. You know, they all gave Holland the first round, Malott the next two. But just a bizarre fight. Holland clearly just compromised by the groin shots in the first round. I mean, he looked great up until that point and then looked pretty terrible after all that. But it's just unfortunate for everybody because Holland gets a loss on his record. Malott wins, but he's not going to get the full credit, and nor should he, honestly, because it was a good performance, but the guy that he was fighting is clearly compromised, and that's not Malott's fault, but it's still hard to give him full credit, especially when he was kind of getting pieced up right before that. So, but my thing with the Malott-Holland fight is that, like, there needs to just be more consistency with what happens during these timeouts, because Kevin Holland's supposed to get 5 minutes and then he's supposed to give a yes or no answer if can he continue. But a fighter isn't ever, we were just talking about this at the main event, a fighter isn't ever gonna say I can't fight, no matter, even if it's true. But the doctor going in there after 5 minutes and being like, can you continue? Can you continue? And Holland's just not answering him. And then the doctor goes up to the ref and is like, he's not giving me a direct answer. It's like, dude, he's not going to. And to think that he is crazy. And like, but the thing is, it's kind of the doctor's fault, but at the same time, it's not the doctor's fault because the rules are so stupid that there's no like black and white thing that they can do. Like, there's 5 minutes for a timeout when you get hit in the groin in MMA. Why is there more time after that 5 minutes? Why does the doctor have to ask the fighter if he can continue? Like, think about any other sport. The clock doesn't just continue after it hits zero, besides like maybe soccer. But like with this fight, you know, Holland takes the full 5 minutes, and then the doctor asks him, "Can you continue?" He doesn't answer him. Like, that's just adding time to the 5 minutes. Like, why is there more time after that? It should just be 5 minutes, and then if he can't continue, the fight is over. Like, why are we giving him an opportunity to stall? Like, and that really goes on everybody. Like, that goes on the doctor, that goes on the referee, goes to the commission because the rules allow them to kind of do that. I just think it should be more black and white, because then you get a fight like this where Mike Malott gets a win, but he's not going to get full credit for it, and then Kevin Holland gets a loss that maybe he wouldn't have gotten if the right things would have been done.
If you really want to know the truth and the likely answer as to why, here I'll just say that it's going to stay this way, why it's as inconsistent as it is.
I'm going to go incompetence, but I'm going to let you say your point too.
Well, there's probably just someone in the doctor's ear or something, just in a way, like, trying to just force it, and it's like, hey, if he doesn't give you a direct answer, then the fight goes on, because there's no concrete black and white like way of going about it. So it's very much in a spot like this. You have the hometown guy. You have a very exciting fighter, fan favorite, in Kevin Holland, and in the co-main event, it happens in round one. Some higher up is probably telling this doctor and Mary Glada himself, like, Mary Glada didn't even take off a point from Kevin Holland using the whole 5 minutes either after the first round. There's probably someone who's like, unless he truly says like he can't go anymore, then this fight's gonna continue. He can use the 5 minutes. After that, like, give him
another minute 30. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is stupid. But because I think, to your point, I think what that is that no one wants to be held accountable for stopping the fight too early, whether it's the doctor, the referee, the commission. But it's like the commission could solve this problem so fast by just changing the rule. If he doesn't give you a yes after 5 minutes, the fight is over, no matter what. Like, there's no need to give him another like minute and a half to be like, hey, he's stalling. Because it's just like, well, what's the point of the 5 minutes if you're just gonna give what's the thing from No Country for Old Men with the remember if the rule is what got you into this position, then what was the point of the rule? Like at the very end, like I'm just like that's kind of how I felt about this. Like if we're giving them all 5 minutes just to give them another two, then what are we even giving them five? Like shit, just give them 10. You know, like at that point, if we're not going to go with what the rules are. But if they're gonna have that rule, it should be enforced to the second. Like
a lesser fight than this. So let's say like the third fight on the early prelims or something. These rules would be strictly enforced and just how it's supposed to be.
I don't think it's that. I think that the rule, because there's no consequence for it being like 5 minutes and 5 seconds. You know what I mean? For the ref, for the doctor, for the fighters, like it needs to actually just be enforced, in my opinion. Like I don't think it necessarily had to do with the fact that it's the co-main. I just think it's total incompetence. Like they just, like I said, there's just no point in having the rule if you're not going to follow it. Like I do agree with you. I think that there is like some of that expectation, like, hey, this is the co-main event. Like you said, hometown fighter versus a star in the promotion. You know, if we can keep this fight going, we should keep this fight going. But my point is that you wouldn't even have that problem if the rule was just black and white instead of this weird gray area that it is. And like to me, I blame the commission for that because it's like they're the ones who have the power to change that. But, you know, that's not how the fight game works. God forbid they do the normal thing because it's just... Like I don't know, like you get what I'm saying? Like I'm not disagreeing with you. Like I do see the point that you're making. And I totally agree. Like they didn't want that fight to probably end like that. But my point is like no one would be held accountable for ending the fight too early if the rule was always enforced. You get what I mean?
Yeah, but so let's say it does go the way it's supposed to go and how the rules are supposed to how they're supposed to follow the rules. Does this fight happen again in the future?
It could. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that ultimately has nothing to do with it, though. It's just like I think that fans wouldn't be in a spot where they'd be complaining if the rules were always just enforced the way that they're written.
I think it does have something to do with it because Kevin Holland clearly had nothing. There was not much he could do the rest of the fight, and now if like you said before, you said yourself that Mike Malott's not going to get the credit for it. Then it's almost like the fight was an early stoppage anyways, but the record books will still say unanimous decision. Well, it was 29-28, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, for all the craziness with judging lately, they actually scored this one pretty much right all through the board.
Yeah, that's why I had to double check.
But this like, it doesn't have to like my point doesn't necessarily. It's not centered directly on this fight. Like this fight is just like an example of just an ongoing issue of like there being constant gray areas in the rules with MMA, and then fans complain constantly.
Well, I think the way we can combine both of our points and our angles of it for the future is that they gotta straighten it out for one. If something like this were to happen for a true like historic kind of pivotal needle moving fight, you can't have this happen.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like they need to fix this. Like you can't have fights like this, because now like what was the point of this? Like what was the point of this fight? Now Malott is probably ranked at the tail end of the welterweight top 15, but like should he be? Like you know, it was a good win. He did well. Like it's not like I'm not even hating on Malott. This has nothing to do with him. It's not even his fault. It's just. It's unfortunate for everybody, but my point is like if they just enforce the rule the way that it's supposed to be and like it wasn't 5 minutes plus another couple minutes of stalling, then we wouldn't be having this problem constantly like we do with eye pokes, with nut shots. Like, this isn't the first time that things like this have happened.
We want to see fighters be tested as well, and Mike Malott was being very very tested in the start of that fight, Kevin Holland, and like even
Yeah, but then he kicked him in the groin, and then we learned nothing. Like, it doesn't make it, to me, it doesn't make a difference. Like, to this fight, like, to me, might as well have not even happened. Like, I don't think we learned anything. Because Kevin Holland was doing really well up until the point when he got kneed the second time.
But you could at least if there was a doctor stoppage, you could clearly say with Mike Malott, like, like, yeah, there's gotta be more for him. Obviously, he gets the win regardless, but there's still an uphill battle to climb, and Kevin Holland will just, who knows when we'll see him next. But now
his nuts gotta heal up, bro.
Yeah,
he's probably still walking funny.
Yeah, I would definitely not want to be in his shoes right there. But
no.
Yeah, there's either way. It's like when you can't take away much except when you can't take nothing but controversy from an outcome of a fight, then there's a bigger problem most of the time that there needs to be talked about. So
I just think that bigger problem is the gray area when the rules are enforced and when the rules aren't enforced. Like, we've had this conversation before with eye pokes, man. Like, if they would just do something about it, people would stop going forward with their fingers out. Same thing with this. It's like, you can't have more than the time allotted. Like, that's and it's never putting everybody in a bad
It's never
position.
gonna be perfect.
No. But it's like, it can be improved. Like, why can't it be?
You still have your own rules, and if you're not gonna follow your own rules, then
it's the point of having
9
them.
times out of 10, it's gonna come back to bite you as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just, Malott got a good win at home. Like, it was a good moment, but like, did we really learn much about him? Like, would that fight have gone the same way if Kevin Holland wasn't kneeing the balls like that in the middle of the first round? And, you could blame Holland for that. Maybe he shouldn't have continued. But it's like, again, it's like we're talking about the main event. You're never going to hear a fighter say he can't continue. And that's why, in the way, I blame the doctor, because what did the doctor think was going to happen? And same thing with the referee. Like, it's just, if there was just a blanket rule, like there is in every other sport, that just doesn't get changed depending on the situation, like, no one would be complaining. It'd just be like, oh, that's the rule. That sucks. Like, oh, well. And maybe, like, you still have everybody complaining. Like, that's just how sports fans are. Like, that's not just MMA. Every sports fan's going to complain about something. But it's like, I'd rather have them complain about them enforcing the rule than this type of thing where it's like, well, what do we do here? Because now Mike Malott got a win. He had moments where he looked good, but again, it's like the question has to remain, what if Holland didn't get hit like that? Or what if that fight ended and they rebook it? Would that have happened? Like, and I get it's more trouble, but if the rule is the rule, then it's, like I said, it's blanketed for everybody.
These are things that need to be straightened out, understood, and certified behind closed doors, so that to the public, there's no dispute, there's no if, and, or buts, and there's no kind of confusion in the air.
Yeah. Well, we were messing around, like, before we started recording. Like, remember I said to you, imagine if you were watching, like, a football game and it ended on, like, a failed third down conversion at the end of the fourth quarter, and then then the ref was like, hey, you guys want one more shot? Like, we're not doing nothing after this. Like, we'll give you one more play even though the clock hit 0. Like, no, like, the game's over. Like, that's how it should be with the 5 minutes. Like, why is there 5 minutes and then he gets another minute to stall just because they want the fight to continue? And, like, again, I don't blame Holland for that. Why would you want to quit the fight? But it's just, if the rule was just set, 5 minutes is up. If he doesn't say yes, the fight's over, no matter what. Like that's the fix. Like, that's just the simple fix. But MMA, like, the rules never change.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's already such a just brutal, violent, physical sport as it is, that'll build you up and break you down twice as hard. Like, what more do you gotta keep a fighter going to keep damaging himself when you have literal certified doctors right beside the cage to evaluate and make the decision like they're supposed to if they need to do so.
I always think the
Because there'll
doctors
be
too. They're afraid to get booed by the fans because it's like he was standing right there in front of Kevin Holland. Like you can tell he's not ready to continue. So call the fight. Like so why you get booed out of the building? Do your job. Like I get like I'd rather the doctor do the job even if it makes all the fans hate him. Like it's again like what's the point of having him there? He just stared at what did he do in that time when he was in the octagon? Seriously, what did he do? He didn't like take a look at him or anything. Like oh god, man, it just drives me nuts because like we're seeing more and more of this type of stuff lately, I feel like, and there's no even like talk of adapting it. But I don't know. I think we've kind of said everything that we could say with this one at this point. Like
yeah.
It's an unfortunate situation for everybody, but
I don't know. Yeah.
Congratulations to Malott. He did look very fast on the feet. He did have his little moments here and there, and even before the nut shot. But again, I can't look at everything after the nut shot objectively.
The doctor and the referee should. Well, no,
it looked like
just
Dumb
the
and Dumber.
doctor because the referee clearly obviously has to know the rules of a fight itself and a contest itself. So he knows that these fighters go through hell and back in their training camp and that they're going to give it all they have to the very last, the very last punch, very last strike of the fight. But the doctor knows, first and foremost, above everybody, knows it has to look at it on a human level and understand that there's still humans inside of that octagon at the end of the day. So nobody's immortal. Nobody is, made out of steel. And he's got to be the one to, like, dude, it's all there. If it's being put in your prowess right now, then you gotta use that, dude.
Yeah,
when you go to med school for all those years.
Well, even not even that. It's just like, what's the point of being in the octagon if they're not going to make a decision? Like, you're asking Kevin Holland if he's okay. He's clearly not. And then the ref, oh my god, like him talking to the ref, it's like, how many people does it take to screw in a light bulb? It's like, can he continue? He's not giving me a straight answer. Well, you should probably get a straight answer. It's like, yeah, duh. Like, but why are we having this conversation? It's been 6 minutes now. Like, that's kind of like where my head was at. It's just frustrating because I'm watching this. I'm like, he's clearly not okay. So if he's not saying yes, stop the fight. Like, why are we waiting? Like, I don't get it. It's just, I don't know. I just think the rules are shot right now with some of this stuff in the gray area because they don't even enforce any of their own stuff. So, like I said, what's the point of having the rule if they're not even going to enforce it? But, like I said, good on Malott. I don't blame him for winning this fight. He looked fast. He was very athletic, but he's still very hittable. As you could see in the first round, he literally got dropped before that. So, it's just a weird one, man. It's definitely just a weird one. And we'll see what happens for both of them going forward. But hopefully Malott can get a real win.
It was a bad fight. We can talk about we can objectively call it a bad fight whether or not there is a controversy or some sort of injury. Like at the end of the day, this went the distance, and it didn't live up to what we hoped it would be for one reason or the other.
Part of that is because Kevin Holland was bouncing around on the outside instead of going forward because he didn't want to get hit in the balls again.
So it's like, man, it's like you can have the rule set in place, then it's like this fight should, you could, like, that's it.
Just
stop the fight.
All I'm asking is make a decision after 5 minutes. Why are we, like, going around the octagon asking 900 questions for two more minutes after that? It's like, then why do we have a timer in the first place?
For me and you will, like, and then fans are like, we'll be just looking out on the outside, and it's like they'll be, everyone within is okay with leaving us fans in the dark. So
well, yeah, I guess so.
Which is
But
not fair. It's not really fair, and that's what I said before. Like, behind closed doors is where you gotta have the understanding, and so that when it comes to, if you need to explain, like, this should be explained, then you have something logical to say.
yeah, I just yeah, I agree with you totally on that. I just I don't know. I just don't see any momentum towards any like meaningful enforcement of the rules or changing of the rules. So I just fear that we're going to keep seeing things like this. And like you said midway through this, I just hope that we never see something like this in a title fight. Because at that point, like, imagine if for that last pay per view for Marab and Corey Sandhagen, imagine if Corey Sandhagen kicked Marab in the balls by accident in the second round and then won the next 3 rounds, wins the fight. But you'd be like, well, Marab's like, he's compromised. But it's like, well, then take the 5 minutes, make a decision. Don't go 5 minutes and then have because you had Kevin Holland like standing there just not talking. And it's like, no. Like, why is there a 5 minute clock if you're not going to make a decision after 5 minutes? That's ultimately my big problem here because I think that it's just going to create controversy. And, we've been talking about this fight for 20 minutes and it's like, and we haven't talked about anything with the fight, really, besides just the nut shot and how they handled it, which, that should tell you something. But, ultimately, I'm actually kind of curious, like, if, just what do you guys think of this? Like, I'm curious of what fans think. Like, do they have a problem with it? Do they think that this should be changed in some way? I mean, obviously, we just talked about it pretty in depth for the past 20 minutes, so I'm curious to see what people think about that. But let's move on to a couple more fights here. Eamon Zahabi defeats Chito Vera in a very close fight, split decision. Zahabi got 2 judges to score at 29-28 in his favor, and then 1 judge scored at 29-28 for Vera. Just an intense fight, this one, man, and it got more and more intense as it was going. The first round was pretty close. I think really this whole fight was pretty close because it's kind of one of those things. Do you value the volume that Zahabi was landing at, or do you value the damage that Chito was doing at certain points? But also, it's like, it's not like Chito was doing the craziest amount of damage in a couple of those rounds. Like, I think, was it the second when he dropped him?
Well, because, like, if you're going to weigh it like that, and it's weighed the same way the judges weighed it, which obviously played in Zahabi's favor to win a split decision, it's if Chito Vera is going to be the one swinging with power, and Zahabi's going to be the one swinging for volume, and he's also, he's landing as such as well, then Chito Vera's got that it's like it's like a microscope they put on Chito Vera, and it's like, well, if he doesn't drop Zahabi or something like that, then they don't feel inclined to give him the victory if Zahabi's the one more just with the greater output in the significant strike category. So that's how I see it, and that's why I mean, even if Chito Vera himself says robbery, like,
it was close, man.
It was actually close.
I'd get it if you gave it to Vera. Like, I honestly still don't have a clear opinion on who won this one. I just think the fight was really as close as it gets. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a robbery. I just thought that this one was a really, really close one. And yeah, ultimately it just depends on what you value more in terms of like damage, or do you think the more strikes someone gets hit with technically means more damage? I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting debate. I don't know. I always side with like real physical damage though, because it's like you go 15 minutes and one guy's busted and bloodied up, it's been dropped, and then the other guy may not have landed as many punches, but he's got a clean look on his face. I mean, who won that fight? That's kind of where I lean with it, but that's like the eye test. That's not the rules. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just a close fight. but Zahabi ultimately gets the win. He calls out Sean O'Malley. Don't think that fight's gonna happen.
Okay, yeah, that call out is.
No, I get it. Like, I do get it.
Like, no,
you can't hate
I get it because you have, but
you gotta shoot high, man.
But we as fans and people that just get to objectively talk about the fight, like, we can say that, hey, that's probably not a good matchup right
No,
now.
I don't think so.
That is not a good
I don't think that's a good matchup really ever. Just because Zahabi, he's a good fighter, but he gets hit a lot.
Surviving Chito Vera is definitely a good test, but like, Sean O'Malley beat Chito Vera for a reason, and Sean O'Malley really like put it to Chito Vera as well.
You know, this is like, I wasn't thinking of going in this direction, but I saw this morning. I was going through Instagram and I saw a comment, and it was talking about how the O'Malley fight, it is a good fight because Chito beat O'Malley at UFC 252 the first time they fought, but the guy said he sparked O'Malley in that fight, and then the next comment was like, did you just like forget that the second fight happened where he didn't land that like you know, I'm not one of those people who says it's a fluke. It's a strike. He threw it with the intent to hurt his leg, and he did. Chito won that fight fair and square, but they rematched years later, much more recently than that first fight. And O'Malley handily beat Chito. So, like, and even in that first fight, before the leg kick, O'Malley was kind of piecing him up. So it's like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that one. Like, Chito's a really good fighter, but O'Malley has been a champion at 135, which people seem to, like, just shit on or forget just because of who he is. But it's like, this guy's beaten Petr Yan, he's beaten Aljamain Sterling, and like the guy who he lost the title to, we're talking about him being the greatest bantamweight of all time, and he's just running through the division. So it's like, Is he really that bad? Like, do people hate him that much? It's just, yeah, man, that one kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. But to circle back to Zahabi, I kind of get shooting for the stars in that sense, because, you know, you got to think about it like this too. Sometimes things just happen to go your way. Like, let's say Sean O'Malley has a fight booked for like the White House card or something, and then his opponent falls out at the last minute. Well, they know Zahabi wants that fight. Maybe he'll take it on short notice. Like, those types of things happen. And it's like, if he didn't say that he wants Sean O'Malley, that might be an opportunity that never comes his way. So, like, I kind of get it, although I don't think that it's going to happen. Even if it did, like I really don't think it's a good matchup for him stylistically. I mean, look at this fight. Chito hit him pretty hard a few times, and O'Malley, he has a lot of power at 135, and I think that the shots that Chito is landing on Zahabi, I think that those would be fight unders if O'Malley was landing.
Okay, so it's probably better to evaluate it like this, and the trajectories of both Sean O'Malley and Aiming Zahabi right now, because obviously when Sean O'Malley was on his way up, like the slow track route, he was already a superstar and someone you could already see fighting anybody in the top 10 and getting a victory over, whilst Damon Zahabi is still just trying to get his name out there somehow. Now that Aiming Zahabi's got his name out there and he's beaten, certified ranked contenders, even a legend like Jose Aldo as well. And now, like I said, someone who's fought for the title in the past in Chito Vera. Like, it's kind of, with Sean O'Malley now, obviously coming down to earth a little bit, it's how much of a ceiling do you think there still is for Sean O'Malley compared to Aiming Zahabi, who's yet to fight for a title?
To me, I agree with you on that. Like, I think that right now O'Malley's obviously in a much different position. But at the same time, it's like, what does he really gain from beating Zahabi if he fights him? That's the other thing. Like, Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen is a fight that I want to see, because those are guys who just, they fought for the title. They're really good strikers. That'd be a fun matchup. But Zahabi, like, I'd rather see him fight another top contender who's on the way up, like a Song Yadong, or maybe the winner of Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. That could be interesting. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think the trajectory is kind of like the flaw in that call out because it's like, well, what does Sean O'Malley really have to gain from taking that fight? Like he has everything to lose and nothing to gain. So that's just kind of how I view it. But
If we're being honest, beyond like beneath Marab, obviously, which is everybody. Marab's a Marab's a bad matchup for everybody, and that's just a testament to Marab. But everyone else, I feel like there's just no actual bad matchups in the bantamweight division. It's just that one guy is down. So Sean O'Malley to Eamon Zahabi. Sean O'Malley's just that much better than Eamon Zahabi. Other than that, I think these fights are always going to be exciting,
yeah,
fast-paced, frenetic action, and whether it's Umar Nurmagomedov or Marab, those two guys in particular can give it to you in a different way, which they're not the most striking savvy fighters, but they're so active, anyways, with their movement when it comes to either blitzing in for takedowns and stuff on the ground itself in the clinch. Like I just like the bantamweight division, and it's kind of same thing I've said with the flyweight division before. It's just there's little to no wasted movements in these fights, and that was the case again here between Chito Vera and Eamon Zahabi, and why the decision is so razor thin close.
yeah, I agree with that. And like, just it's a division that's filled with a bunch of killers, man. Like, and like you said, every one of them up against each other like would be an interesting matchup. So I think that's why you're probably looking more into like the stakes of the fights and like
Even
how
when
they match
and
up.
Davis and Figueiredo now in this division adds that much more of a dimension to it. Obviously when Aljamain Sterling was a bantamweight, he also did the same thing. So
Well, even right now, you had the fight that just got booked, Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. Like that's a big fight because we know it's probably Cejudo's last one. But man, if Talbot gets that win, like that's a huge win for him. So, and then you have another guy who's on the ascent. Uh, that's a tough fight, man. I'm so glad they booked that. That's a fun one. I'm intrigued by that one. But before we move on to like what's going on next week, let's talk about Manon Fiorot a little bit because she deserves some shine on this podcast today. Giant first round knockout over Jasmine. Oh, dude. So we were talking about this before.
After having to spell her last name,
That's right.
I've got a good
The lost video.
Yeah, I've got
Actually,
it's pretty
no,
implanted
that's
in my
not the
head
video.
how to say it now. So
Yeah, well, I thought I did because I've heard everybody say Jasmine Jasudavicius, and then I heard Brendan Fitzgerald say Jasudavicius, and I was like, I mean, I guess that works. Like, but that might just be how you say it. Like, I don't know. That's why I just stick with Jasmine, man. But Manon Fiorot gets the win over Jasmine, first round knockout. Good rebound off of that title fight, lost to Shevchenko, which like again wasn't the worst performance we've seen against Valentina. So like the fact that she got this win over a surging prospect and really at this point contender in Jasmine Jasudavicius. God, I'm just gonna go with my initial. I just can't get that other one out. Like, but Manon cracked her with a quick 1-2, hurt her bad. She protested the stoppage, which I get. I mean, you're in that type of position. It's a big fight on a big card at home, and you kind of just get sparked like that. But I think she was trying to defend intelligently, but at the end of the day, she was kind of reaching back, but she wasn't reaching really for anything. And yeah, she might not have been done yet, but there was nothing else that was going to happen. She was just going to eat another bunch of unanswered shots, in my opinion. So I thought the stoppage was fair, even if it seemed like it might have been a little early. I think she was kind of saving her a little bit just from extra damage that she was going to take. But yeah, Manon gets the win, and now she's right back in the title picture. So shout out to her because that was really impressive. And right now I think it's in November when we're getting the Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko fight. I think Manon Fiorot is definitely going to be watching that one closely because she could very well be someone who's fighting for another title in the near future. But, speaking of pay-per-views, though, next week we have another one. Some really good fights on this one, man. Heavyweight title fight. It's about time, man. Finally. It's about time. Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Then the co-main is Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern 2 for the strawweight title, which is obviously going to be vacant the second they start fighting. Umar Nurmagomedov is fighting Mario Bautista, as we kind of just talked about before. Alexander Volkov fighting Jailton Almeida. Winner of that fight could very well be the next heavyweight contender to get a title shot, depending on what they want to do with Alex Pereira, as we've talked about. And then this is actually a really good fight, sleeper fight here. Alexander Rakic, he's coming back versus Azamat Mirzakhanov, who I have been pretty high on from the moment I saw him in the Contender Series. And the fact that he's gotten to this level, it's kind of exciting because it's been he's been getting a lot of impressive wins, but I feel like you don't really hear his name much. And now he's getting a fight booked against a big name in that division, at least to the hardcores. I think most hardcore fans respect Rakic and what he's been able to do in his career. So for him to take because this is a dangerous fight to take, I'm intrigued about that one.
Rakic fought Yuri for the belt, right?
I don't think that was for the belt. I think
that wasn't for the belt.
Yeah, I think that was just a 3-rounder, I think. But
yeah,
he's a good fighter, man. Should be a fun card, though. It's an early one too in the States because I think it's in Abu Dhabi, so 2 p.m. pay-per-view here on the East Coast, which I'll take it. I mean, it's more fun for us obviously when we get to stay up and have some fun watching the fights. But hey, man, I'll catch up on sleep any day. So should be a fun one. We'll be back next week to break down all of the action. But until then, see y'all.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.